Welcome to the Musar Torah podcast for Parshas Ekev. Join us as we explore the weekly Parsha, uncovering valuable insights and striving to become the best versions of ourselves through Musar teachings. Today's episode is inspired by a powerful insight from Rabbi Yaakov Kier's Musar Moments email, which he published about 4 years ago. He's still publishing, and he does a great job. I subscribe, and I completely recommend it. Pasuk says, Shema Yisrael va'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. We all know these holy words that describe the basic tenets of our faith, together with our relationship with Hashem. These verses are so familiar to us. We recite them twice daily. They're the first words we teach our children, and they've been on the lips of Jewish martyrs throughout history. There is a profound insight from Rashi that's not as well known, and it speaks directly to how we can transform our entire approach to Jewish observance. Rashi comments on Perek Vav Pasuk Hey that it is critical we serve our Creator out of passion and love, as opposed to viewing our obligations as a burden based on fear. This isn't just a nice spiritual ideal, it's practical psychology that affects the sustainability of our religious commitment. Rashi illustrates this with a powerful mashal. Picture a servant who works for his boss purely out of fear. When times get difficult, when the demands become challenging, when the pressure mounts, he will eventually look for an exit. Why? Because his motivation is external, based on avoiding negative consequences rather than finding meaning in the work itself. In contrast, someone who learns to enjoy his job, who finds fulfillment and purpose in what he does, will never be quick to call it quits. Even when faced with difficulties, he pushes through because the work itself has value for him. The challenges become obstacles to overcome rather than reasons to abandon ship. Rashi teaches this is also true regarding our relationship with Hashem. If our mitzvos and halachos feel like a burden, something we feel forced into, boxed in by, constrained by, then we will naturally be tempted to abandon it all when things get tough. Let's be honest. Things do get tough. Keeping kosher in a non-kosher world isn't always convenient. Davening 3 times a day requires discipline. Learning Torah demands time and effort. Here is the transformative insight. If we can perform our mitzvahs with passion, or even just with a positive perspective, then we normally won't be faced with that inner turmoil and tension that leads people away from observance. Take a second and think about your own experience. When you daven with kavanah, when you really focus on the words and their meaning, doesn't it feel completely different than when you're just going through the motions? When you perform an act of chesed because you genuinely want to help someone, rather than because you feel obligated, isn't the entire experience transformed? The difference between fear-based and love-based service isn't just philosophical, it's experiential. One energizes us, the other depletes us. This lesson becomes ever more relevant as we enter Shabbos Nachamu. The Haftarah says, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami. Be comforted, my people. The Navi Yeshayahu comforts the Jewish people after describing the destruction and exile. When there is so much suffering in Gullus, that too can create inner turmoil within the Jewish people. We look around at a world that seems broken, at challenges that feel overwhelming, at an exile that has stretched on for millennia. That suffering can shake our faith, can make our service feel mechanical or forced. This is something we can certainly relate to in our period as well. We face our own forms of spiritual exile, materialism that distracts us from meaning, technology that fragments our attention, societal pressures that challenge our values. Sometimes it seems like we're serving Hashem despite the world, rather than because the world itself calls us to that service. If we can take solace in this bracha of Shabbos Nachamu, if we can remember that even in the darkest moments Hashem is preparing comfort and redemption, then we too can get back on track to serving Hashem out of love rather than fear. How do we make this transition from fear-based to love-based service? James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, teaches us that lasting change happens through small, consistent actions rather than dramatic overhauls. This wisdom applies beautifully to our spiritual growth as well. Start small. Choose one mitzvah and focus on why it matters, not just that you have to do it. Clear teaches us to stack stack new habits onto existing ones. So take a mitzvah you already do and add a moment of intention before it. Before you bench, take just 5 seconds to think about the gratitude you feel for the food you just enjoyed. Before you daven, pause to consider that you're about to have a conversation with the creator of the universe. Before you give tzedakah, reflect briefly on the privilege of being able to help someone else. Clear also emphasizes making habits attractive, and this is exactly what Rashi is teaching us. When we focus on the meaning and beauty behind our mitzvos, we make them attractive rather than burdensome. We're not changing what we do, we're changing how we think about what we do. When we shift our focus from obligation to opportunity, from burden to blessing, something remarkable happens. The mitzvos themselves become sources of energy rather than drains on our resources. We discover what our ancestors knew, that Torah and mitzvos aren't constraints on life, but pathways to life's deepest fulfillment. As we read the Shema this week, let's remember Rashi's powerful insight. The goal isn't just to serve Hashem, but to serve Hashem with love. Not because we have to, but because we want to. Not out of fear of punishment, but out of recognition of the incredible privilege we have to connect with the infinite through our daily actions. May this Shabbos Nachamu bring us all comfort, and may we merit to discover the joy and passion that can transform our entire relationship with Torah and mitzvos. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Musar Torah podcast. Until next time, may we all grow in our love and service of Hashem. Have a good Shabbos.